All right. So diving right in, you sent us a fascinating collection of material on the history of Winners Chapel.
Yeah.
Specifically focusing on these 8 bishops who have left the ministry over the years.
Yeah.
8 stories, each with its own twists and turns.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling we're going to find some interesting common threads here.
Absolutely. What's fascinating to me is that this isn't just about people leaving a church.
Right.
It's a window into the dynamics of power, ambition, and maybe even theological differences within a large religious institution.
Right. It's almost like looking at a microcosm of any organization, but with the added layer of faith and spiritual leadership.
Exactly. And remember, this 1999 consecration of 7 bishops was supposed to streamline administration and fuel Winners Chapel's growth.
Right.
But as we'll see, it might have inadvertently paved the way for some of these departures.
Okay, so let's start with the first bishop to leave bishop.
Right.
Now, he was Bishop Oyedepo's brother-in-law, which already adds a layer of complexity.
Greatly.
Family ties can make things tricky.
Yeah, for sure.
And in this case, the church asked Bishop to relocate from Abuja to Lagos.
Right.
He wasn't happy about that, and ultimately, he resigned in 2004.
Okay.
And he didn't just disappear. He went on to found Good Tidings Bible Church International.
Right.
Which our source says attracted a lot of his former followers. That's got to make you think, is this about differing visions for ministry? Maybe a desire for more autonomy?
It's certainly possible. When a leader with a strong following leaves, there's often a pull.
Yeah.
For those who connected with his style of leadership, it's almost like a ripple effect.
And there's another layer to this story, right? Bishop and Bishop Oyedepo eventually reconciled.
Right.
At least on a personal level, at Bishop's father's funeral.
Yes, and remember, Bishop's father was also Bishop Oyedepo's father-in-law.
Right.
It's a reminder that these aren't just organizational charts. They're intertwined lives and relationships. Even when there's conflict, those personal ties can endure.
It's definitely not a simple story. Okay, so let's move on to Bishop George Ijon.
Right.
Now, his exit was a little more dramatic.
Okay.
He was tasked with overseeing Winners Chapel's expansion in Ghana.
Right.
But then she went and re-registered the Ghanaian branch under his own name.
Wow.
Cutting out the Nigerian trustees completely.
This is where the power dynamics really come into play. That move sparked a massive legal battle.
Right.
With the Pentecostal Council even trying to mediate, but ultimately it went to court.
And a court ruled in favor of Bishop Oyedepo and Winners Chapel International, right?
Yes, in 2020.
Okay.
Bishop Ijon had to return all the properties and was even required to provide a full financial accounting.
Wow.
Going all the way back to 2004, this case really set a precedent for how these kinds of disputes might be handled in the future.
So we've seen 2 pretty different departures.
Yes.
One leading to reconciliation, the other to a full-blown legal battle. What's interesting to me is that in both cases, these bishops established their own ministries afterward.
That's true.
Is this a pattern we're going to see with the others?
It's definitely something to watch for. It makes me wonder, is there something about the structure of Winners Chapel, or maybe even just the experience of rising through the ranks of a large organization? That almost prepares these leaders to go out and do their own thing.
Like a springboard effect. They learn the ropes, gain a following, and then feel empowered to strike out on their own.
Exactly. And that raises a whole other set of questions about ambition, leadership styles, and what constitutes success within a religious context.
Okay, so we've got 6 more bishops to explore. Let's dive into the next group and see if this pattern continues.
Let's look at this next group of bishops.
Okay.
Their stories are fascinating.
Yeah.
We have Bishop Joseph Yoram,
okay,
who was deeply involved with Winners Chapel from a young age and rose quickly through the ranks. He even helped establish the Kaduna branch, one of the earliest ones.
Oh, wow.
And he eventually left to found Prevailing Faith Christian Assembly in Port Harcourt.
So we are seeing that same pattern again, leaving to start a new ministry. It's almost like a natural progression.
It does make you wonder, though. Is this driven by ambition, a desire for more control, or is it something else entirely? Perhaps they feel a calling to lead in a different way, one that they couldn't quite fulfill within Winners Chapel's existing structure.
It's like they're taking the experience and knowledge they gained and using it to build something new.
Yeah.
Something that reflects their own vision.
Exactly. And that vision might not always align perfectly with the larger organization.
Right.
Take Bishop Boulos Martins, for instance.
Okay.
He dedicated 20 years to Winners Chapel,
Wow.
serving as the bishop for the North Central region. But then in 2007, he resigned and founded Treasured Life Family Church.
So he went from a very specific regional role to leading his own church with branches in multiple cities.
Right.
That's quite a leap.
It is.
It makes me think about the kind of entrepreneurial spirit that must be required to make that kind of transition.
Absolutely. These bishops aren't just spiritual leaders.
Right.
They're also, in a sense, building and managing organizations. And sometimes that entrepreneurial drive leads them down a different path.
Okay. So then we have Bishop Micah Follaby.
Right.
His story is interesting because he spent 25 years with Winners Chapel.
Yeah.
Holding a variety of roles.
Wow.
From overseeing church projects
Right.
to leading congregations in different locations.
Yeah, he even served in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which shows the international scope of Winners Chapel's work. But after all that, he left in 2013 to establish the Hand of God Christian Center.
Right.
In Iliff. Sadly, he passed away in 2020.
It's a reminder that these are more than just stories about institutional change. These are people's lives, their legacies, their interpretations of faith.
That's right.
And sometimes those journeys take them in unexpected directions.
Speaking of journeys,
Yeah.
Bishop Dixon Alea was actually one of the original 8 members who founded Winners Chapel back in 1981.
Wow.
He was there from the very beginning, witnessing the ministry's growth firsthand.
Wow. So he saw it all unfold from those early days in Kaduna to becoming this massive international organization.
Right.
And then after all that, he left in 2007 to found Royal Destiny Church in Benin City.
Yeah.
It's hard not to wonder what goes through someone's mind when they make a decision like that.
I know.
After being so deeply involved for so long, what prompts them to step away and start something new?
Right.
Maybe it's a sense that their vision no longer aligns with the direction the organization is heading. Or maybe after decades of service, they simply feel a pull to explore a different expression of their faith.
It's fascinating to consider.
Right.
Now, the next 2 bishops we'll discuss, Bishop David Abiaye and Bishop Thomas Aremu, have something interesting in common. They both served past the mandatory retirement age of 60.
Oh, wow.
Bishop Abiaye retired at 63 and Bishop Aremu at 67.
That's pretty unusual, especially in an organization as large as Winners Chapel.
Yeah.
I wonder if that says something about their relationship with Bishop Oyedepo or perhaps their level of dedication to the ministry.
It certainly suggests a deep level of trust and commitment.
Right.
Bishop Abiaye was the first vice president of Winners Chapel and was essentially second in command.
Wow.
That's a significant position to hold for so long.
And Bishop Aremu also held several key leadership roles, including serving as the second vice president and presiding bishop of the Winners Chapel in Ibadan.
Right.
His experience spans various locations from Nigeria to South Africa and Ghana, highlighting the global reach of Winners Chapel.
Their long tenures and eventual retirements raise an interesting question.
Yeah.
Does their decision to stay past the usual retirement age reinforce the idea of Winners Chapel as a hierarchical structure where loyalty is paramount?
Right.
Or does it simply reflect a personal commitment to the ministry's mission?
I'm leaning towards a bit of both, honestly.
Yeah.
It seems like a complex interplay of personal dedication, respect for the leadership, and perhaps a sense of duty to the larger organization.
It's a nuanced situation for sure, and it brings us to the end of our look at these 8 bishops who left Winners Chapel.
Okay.
What are your thoughts now that we've explored all of their stories?
It's striking how diverse these departures are. We've seen everything from amicable retirements to bitter legal battles, but the common thread seems to be this drive to lead, to shape a ministry in their own way.
It's like each of these bishops carried a seed of leadership within them, and their experience within Winners Chapel nurtured that seed. Some chose to remain within the organization, serving for decades, even past retirement. Others felt compelled to plant that seed elsewhere to cultivate a different kind of ministry.
It makes you wonder about the ripple effects, right?
Yeah.
These departures not only impact the bishops themselves, but also the congregations they leave behind. What happens to those communities? Do they fracture, or do they find a way to adapt and move forward?
That's a great question. I imagine it depends on the circumstances of each departure.
Right.
If a bishop leaves on good terms, perhaps the transition is smoother with a sense of continuity. But if there's conflict or controversy, it's bound to create some tension within the community.
And it makes me think about the nature of religious leadership itself.
Yeah.
Is it solely about theological authority? Or does personal charisma play a bigger role than we might think?
I'd say it's a delicate balance. Doctrine provides the foundation, but the way a leader embodies and communicates those teachings can deeply resonate with followers. It's that connection, that sense of shared belief and purpose that often motivates people to follow a leader even when they branch out on their own.
Which makes me wonder, could these departures be seen as a sign of a healthy system?
Oh, interesting.
Like maybe it's natural for different interpretations of faith to emerge.
Right.
Leading to the creation of new communities and expressions of belief.
I think there's some truth to that. It challenges the notion that departures are always negative or divisive.
Right.
They could be viewed as a natural evolution, a branching out that ultimately enriches the religious landscape.
That's an interesting way to look at it. And it also raises questions about the future of Winters Chapel.
Yeah.
How does the church adapt to these departures? Does it become more centralized to maintain control? Or does it embrace a more decentralized model, allowing for greater diversity of expression within its ranks?
It's hard to say for sure, but it's definitely something to watch. Winters Chapel continues to thrive under Bishop Oyedepo's leadership.
Right.
But these departures highlight the potential challenges of managing a large and diverse religious organization.
Yeah.
It's a constant balancing act between preserving unity and allowing for individual expression.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the key takeaway for our listener? What should they be thinking about as they go about their day?
I think the biggest takeaway is the reminder that religious institutions, like any human endeavor, are complex and dynamic. They're not monolithic entities, but rather communities of individuals, each with their own beliefs, ambitions, and journeys. And when those individual paths diverge from the institution, it can lead to fascinating and often unpredictable outcomes.
Absolutely. We've seen power struggles, legal battles, the birth of new ministries, all stemming from the decisions of these 8 bishops.
Right.
It's a reminder that even in the realm of faith, ambition, personal vision, and the pursuit of one's calling can lead to profound shifts in the landscape.
Perhaps it prompts us to ask some deeper questions. What does this tell us about the nature of leadership, both within and outside of religious contexts? How do followers navigate these shifts in authority? And how do faith communities evolve and adapt in a world that's constantly changing? These are questions that extend far beyond the walls of Winters Chapel and invite us to consider the complexities of faith and human nature in a new light.
Beautifully put. This deep dive has given us a lot to ponder. That's for sure. Thanks for joining us on this exploration.